哎呀，好熱啊！Joey 點算啊？
I have this saga recipe. We can take a look at it. Why is there math in my recipe? Why? What is this? Well, I guess I have to do this recipe. We'll be using pineapple bits, coconut milk, mangoes, a lot of mangoes, large tapioca pearls, this coconut flake that I end up not using, and milk. The first step in this recipe is to make the large tapioca pearls, since they take a long time to make. So we first start off by boiling some water and then adding the pearls into the boiling water. And we have to stir them regularly so they don't stick to each other and stick to the pan. And we let it simmer for 25 minutes. And then when the 25 minutes has passed, we turn off the heat and stir it and let it rest for 25 minutes again. And to actually find out the amount of pearls we need, the recipe says that we need to find the derivative of 5x cubed when x equals 4. So as you can see, you can use simple power rule to find out derivative of h of x, which is 15x squared, and you plug in 4, you get 140. Well, the next step is to cut the mangoes into small pieces. And while we do that, we can figure out how many mangoes we need for the recipe. The recipe says the amount of mangoes we need is the integration of 33x squared minus 22x plus 11 from 0 to 1. And from simple power rule, we can find out that the integration is just 11x cubed minus 11x squared plus 11x from 1 to 0. And you simply plug in the 1, subtracted by when you're plugging in 0, which equals 11 mangoes is a lot of mangoes, so this will take a while, which is perfect while you wait for your pearl to cook for basically 50 minutes. The next step in this recipe is to put the mango bits in the blender and make them into mush. And while this blending process is going, we also need to add our coconut milk to make the blending process easier overall, and just to make it easier to incorporate the coconut milk into the mango mush. And while that is happening, we can use this time to find out how much coconut milk we need to add. In order to find out how much coconut milk we need for this recipe, it represented by its integral. And to solve the integral, we integrate each term, and as you can see, 4x cubed becomes x over 4, and then it becomes x cubed, and then this becomes negative 10x squared. And in the end, we add them all together, and the amount of coconut milk we need is 400 milligrams. Sometimes the mango turns out to be too sour, and therefore we need to add sugar into the recipe. And this time the mango was extremely sour, so therefore I needed to add the sugar. And I think if I didn't add the sugar, then the product would have been turned out really bad and really sour. After you taste test it and it actually tastes good or bearable, then you pour it into your large bowl and prepare for the next processes of adding the pineapples and the milk. And there are still 2 more ingredients that we need to find out amount for, and one of them is second derivative, the other is Taylor series. I don't think I have the energy to do this and to make it, so we're just going to use a little tool called the calculator. With a little help of our calculator friend, we were able to find out that we need 48 ounces of milk, or 1,419.529 milliliters of milk. And in a problem, it called for milliliters, so therefore the answer to the problem is 1,419.529 milliliters of milk. After that, we just need to combine them all together and stir well. Stir well so we ensure that the tastes are all uniform and there isn't where chunks where there are no milk, or there are chunks where there are too much milk and not enough mango. And after all of this, the drink was still not sweet enough because of a really poor unripe mangoes. So I ended up adding more sugar, which definitely helped out a lot with the taste. Next, we need to add our pineapples. And with, like I said previously, with our little help from our calculator, we have to find the second derivative of a function and then multiply that by 1.446. And by doing so, we found out that the amount of grams of pineapple we need is 567 grams. Additionally, pineapples are not usually a traditional part of this Chinese dessert, but I just chose to add it because I felt like adding a more variety into it, and I really wanted to test out how pineapples would do to this recipe, and it actually turned out really well. And the very last step to this dessert is to add the tapioca pearls that we've been preparing for a really long time, and you have to be letting it sit in a cold water and have to rinse it out, because when you make the pearls, there are a lot of like starch, slime, that are going to be residue left over, so you really need to get rid of it. And that's the final last step. Enjoy.